Welcome into the Do It Well podcast. It's the show that's spending the entire summer talking about the biggest event on the planet, the World Cup. We're going to be your one-stop shop for analysis, debate, maybe even some live commentary. Fellas, happy Sunday. We start with the U.S. versus Germany yesterday. So the U.S. lost to Germany 2-1 at Soldier Field in the final match before the World Cup officially begins. Gentlemen, after yesterday's game, are you buying U.S. men's national team stock or are you selling it?
Yeah, I think you got to buy to start the game to concede that goal. Not a great play. I mean, I think Freese has got to come grab that ball, and then Havertz is, if you're going to mark one guy in the box, you mark Kai Havertz in the air. So that was a bit of a head scratcher. I think positives. I think when you look at like that midfield, right, and you look at Pulisic, McKennie, and Tillman, and you think, you know what, this could actually be the midfield that does it. I think against Senegal, we came out of it with maybe more questions than answers. But I think when you look at the balance of that midfield, I think you give those guys a couple games and I think they could really click, and I think they could be a force. And look, their competition is going to be steep because there are midfields out there where, like, you look at Portugal's midfield, 2/3 of it plays together. You know, and then the third guy is the best prem midfielder, right? So that's a difficult thing to grapple with. But I think Adams, McKennie, and Tillman, for me, that was the most promising thing because I think that is our strongest midfield.
One of the things I think that happens in these friendlies, I think there's really two goals. Goal number one is don't injure your guys. And I think the second goal usually is you want to give some players minutes you want to see while also not giving away too much of what some of your set pieces might be, some tactics. And I think both of those things were accomplished yesterday, where we gave certain guys a run that needed to get a run. And I think everyone got subbed off in the 70th minute or something. Like they swapped most of the guys 70th, 75th minute, maybe Pulisic in the 61st. And then they didn't get injured, which is huge. And there was that one tackle that I think it was Sonnet had on Pulisic where he kind of goes down and grabs his back. And as a fan, you look at that and that could have been catastrophic if in a friendly Pulisic gets hurt. So just from a blink test reaction, the fact that we got out of there with no injuries and just getting a bunch of guys different minutes in different positions, that's a great sign.
For sure. I think there were a lot of positives. And I think like the main takeaway is there's a lot to be excited about. I think, you know, this team is clearly, you know, I think going up to these friendlies, right, there was a pretty bad loss to Belgium where we conceded 5 goals and then a loss to Portugal. And I think there was some panic. And I think that panic is pretty much gone now. I think there is a lot of confidence there, and it is way too easy to just say, okay, well, if you take that bad set piece out of things, then it was a great game. Because like those little moments do matter. Right. But I think, you know, there are a lot of reasons to be excited. I think there are still some questions about the starting lineup, which is pretty crazy how many there are. I don't think it's just one spot. I think it's 2 or 3 that are real toss-ups. And I think pretty hard to predict what Poch is going to do on Friday. But hey, it wouldn't be World Cup season if there wasn't U.S. drama. So I'm here for it. And I think for Germany, I think on the German side, Germany's in a funny place because they are a great soccer nation and they've had recent World Cup success, but not that recent because Germany hasn't gotten out of their group in the last 2 World Cups. And that's a really big deal. I mean, if you're a country like Germany with the pedigree of Germany, where you hold, I think we said they hold the second place for most World Cup titles of all time.
Yep.
and they haven't gotten out of their group in the last 8 years of World Cup play. There's a lot of pressure to perform for Germany. And so I think for them, it's a pretty good win.
The other thing that stood out to me is we go down 1-0 within 90 seconds. And I mean, we've all played sports in some capacity. The moment you go down that early, it's so easy to be like, "Oh, crap.
Totally.
We're
Yeah.
down early
Yeah.
against Germany." And for those guys to bounce back in such a dramatic fashion with the Jedi goal, I think was a sign of huge resilience, because it would have been so easy to say, we conceded 90 seconds in. They actually almost conceded, what, 4 minutes later with a goal that was called offside. And instead of mailing it in, the boys fought back, scored an
Mhm.
epic goal that I honestly wish Jedi had saved. I mean, can you imagine that goal
Yeah.
in a knockout stage game? That could be a contender for goal of the tournament. So,
Yeah.
I mean, hate that he used up some of his magic too early, but boy, what a way to just send a signal to the rest of the World Cup that when our boys go down, we're not going to go down without a fight.
Absolutely. Which I think has been like a quality about US teams in the past, where there has been a lot of grit and I don't know, just a lot of fight, quite frankly.
Yeah. Yep.
Which sounds cliche, but it is one thing that I think you go from team to team and a lot of things change. And I think the US men's national team has consistently shown a lot of fight in those moments.